It has been a rocky start for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They've dealt with a grueling schedule, nagging injuries, and some all-around lackluster performances, but they've also put together a handful of inspiring wins, and through it all, Caris LeVert has been a steady presence off the bench. He's averaging close to 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists in 34 minutes of playing time, making him one of the most well-rounded sixth men in the NBA. But how is Caris generating his offense? Is anything different from last year? And what does he bring to the defensive end that could actually put him into Sixth Man of the Year consideration? Let's start with his role as full-time backup point guard. Caris LeVert is playing a career high in minutes as the Cavs have come to rely on him more than expected, with Darius, Garland, and Ty Jerome suffering early season injuries and Ricky Rubio away from the team for personal reasons. Because of this, LeVert has been anointed as Cleveland's backup point guard. LeVert has always been at his best, acting as a secondary or third ball handler, and his minutes alongside Donovan Mitchell and Max Strus have ensured he can settle nicely into that role. So far, he's been great at taking care of the ball. He's in the 93rd percentile for turnover percentage and the 85th percentile for assists, which is pretty good. You can read more on LeVert's success dishing the ball from my podcast co-host Jackson Flickinger on his weekly column for Write Down Euclid, but this behind the back dime tells you all you need to know.
LeVert behind the back! Kick him, young man!
LeVert operates the pick and roll at a high level, again ranking close to the 80th percentile as a pick and roll ball handler. He's good at getting downhill into the paint, finishing at the rim, or getting to the free throw line at a career high rate this season. If he isn't shooting, LeVert is gift wrapping free dunks to Cleveland's bigs.
LeVert, little speed, dumps it off, and Albert. One of those instant scores for Cleveland, and that wraparound.
Even more impressive, LeVert is shooting three-pointers with confidence, comfortably punishing opponents for playing drop coverage.
All the moves, ups and unders. Wow, LeVert again! He has a chance for a 4-point play.
The overall three-point shooting that has been added to Cleveland's roster this summer has made it easier for LeVert to attack in open space. Look at how much room LeVert has to work on this possession. Caris was dribbling in a phone booth for much of last season, but again, look at the space he has now, playing one-on-one with his defender and earning a trip to the free throw line. Here he is attacking the defender in drop coverage. And in the past, this mid-range pull-up was a comfort shot for LeVert. More than a third of his career shot attempts have come from the in-between game, with LeVert connecting on more than 40% of his attempts during his best seasons, but his touch from this zone abandoned him last year, shooting a career-low 30% from mid-range. Losing your go-to comfort shot is brutal for any player, and it led to some head-scratching moments last season for LeVert. But he may have found his rhythm again, shooting 20% better from the 10 to 16 feet range to start this season. If this trend continues and LeVert returns home to the mid-range, it could really make life easier for the rest of the Cavs. But all in all, LeVert has delivered the goods to Cleveland's offense. He's scoring in a timely manner and providing enough playmaking off the bench to keep them afloat as Garland and Jerome navigate early season injuries. I still think we should expect streaky shooting nights, which means the good will come with the bad. But LeVert has been an overall positive for the Cavaliers on this side of the ball.
LeVert changes direction, lays it up and in.
Before we talk about the defensive end of the floor, please consider hitting subscribe and following the channel for more video breakdowns and podcast episodes, and you can find all of my work on Twitter in the links below. Now let's turn our focus to what Caris LeVert is bringing to the Cavaliers defense. The Cavs' overall effort on this side of the floor hasn't been as great as it was in recent years, giving up 70-point first halves to both Indiana and Oklahoma City in the same week. But the Cavs have also had stretches of dominance, holding Indiana to just 18 points in the third quarter of that same game, and delivering two gritty performances against the Golden State Warriors, winning their first game in Golden State since Game 7 of the 2016 NBA Finals. Yeah, it's been that long. Finally showcasing that league-best defense the Cavaliers made their calling card last season, and while most of this can be attributed to the return of Jarrett Allen and the omnipresent Evan Mobley, Caris LeVert has been huge to setting the tone in each of their best defensive games. He's playing with active hands, generating live-action turnovers that lead directly into fast break points. LeVert had 6 combined steals in his 2 games versus the Warriors, and this hustle play where LeVert is the first to the floor is exactly why he was given the Junkyard Dog Award that night.
Dives to the hardwood, gives to Mobley, here's Strus, who throws it down!
But LeVert is doing more than jumping passing lanes. He's plugging up drives and forcing opponents into difficult fading jumpers. Opposing players are shooting 10% below their average from 2-point range when Caris LeVert is defending them. This is a full possession of putting bolt locks on Klay Thompson.
$3.5 million is now a new record, and they're going to break that one next year.
Yeah, Warriors love finding those organizations that are doing great work around their community, helping them out.
Speaking of great work, Caris LeVert blocking Klay Thompson. Beautifully done there.
And while Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 2 hyper-efficient scoring nights against the Cavs, these defensive possessions down the stretch of the fourth quarter nearly allowed Cleveland to crawl back into the game.
Gilgeous-Alexander works in toward LeVert. Had it knocked away and out of bounds.
Every shot now, he's getting his legs under him, shoulders to the target, knocking it down.
Gilgeous-Alexander inside has that knocked away and out of bounds.
And this isolation defense earlier in the first half was another example of LeVert's impact.
Alexander working on LeVert. Missed it, loose ball.
He's bringing energy to the floor each night, and best of all, he hasn't fouled a 3-point shooter once this season, something he did quite a lot of last year. I'm sure we're all still having nightmares of the Jordan Clarkson 7-point possession. But overall, LeVert has been the stable, two-way presence Cleveland has come to rely on each night, and while I wouldn't place a bet on him to win 6th Man of the Year, I think he deserves more recognition, especially if he can keep this up.